So, the autoimmune protocol, or AIP, can feel like an answered prayer when you're desperate to understand the reason behind your unexplained symptoms. If you've worked really hard to leave chronic dieting behind, eliminating foods can also feel like you're headed in the wrong direction. So, do you have to choose between AIP and intuitive eating? I don't think it's that simple. That's why today I'm sharing how AIP and intuitive eating can work together. Hi, my name is Tomesha Campbell, and I'm the health coach behind What's Causing This, where I help women with unexplained symptoms understand what their bodies may be trying to tell them so that you can make more informed health decisions without endless trial and error. And in part 1 of our AIP and intuitive eating series, we talked about what AIP actually is. In part 2, we discussed where AIP and intuitive eating conflict, and in part 3, we're going to share where they complement each other. But before we go any further, I need to clarify that while I'm a health coach, unless you're one of my current clients, I'm not your health coach. For that reason, the information I'm sharing is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical diagnosis or treatment. Always consult with your physician with any medical questions you have and use any information provided at your own risk. How AIP can complement intuitive eating. Now for today's video, I'm going to be referencing the new autoimmune protocol and the 4th edition of Intuitive Eating, which are available wherever books are sold. I've also linked both below in this video. Now in part 2, I spoke about 3 principles of intuitive eating that conflict with AIP, so I highly recommend you watch that if you're feeling any resistance to the idea that these 2 philosophies can work together. Now in this video, I'm not going to discuss the remaining 7 principles. However, I will share 4 intuitive eating principles that are most closely aligned with AIP. The first is principle 2, honor your hunger. Now, as the 4th edition of the Intuitive Eating explains, honoring your hunger is about keeping your body biologically fed with adequate energy and carbohydrates. Similarly, the new autoimmune protocol emphasizes consuming enough nutrients to support your nutritional needs. I know that adequate and enough are subjective terms, but the point is that honoring your hunger means giving yourself unconditional permission to eat, even when you're choosing foods that aren't considered to be the most nutrient dense. So where intuitive eating can complement AIP is by reminding you that temporarily restricting certain foods doesn't mean restricting the amount of foods your body needs. AIP encourages a variety of nutrient-dense foods, which can include everything from vegetables to seafood to bone broth to organ meats. So if those are things you generally don't consume, it's okay. Until I did AIP, I didn't drink bone broth, and to be honest, I'm not a huge organ meat fan. And you don't have to be either if that's really not your thing. But learning to respond to your body can also help you build trust again with food, which can support you in eating more intuitively while you're following AIP. Now the second is principle 5, discover the satisfaction factor. Now while nutrient density is important, eating isn't just about nutrition but satisfaction. And both approaches emphasize variety. So in part 1, I discussed the elimination and reintroduction phase, but what often gets emphasized with AIP is a list of foods to avoid during the elimination phase. But what often gets overlooked is the equally important list of foods you can include during elimination and reintroduction. So that means herbs, root vegetables, fruits, poultry, animal fats, probiotic foods, and even sweeteners are just some of the foods you can eat during AIP. So I really want to emphasize this point not only as a health coach, but also as an AIP certified coach from the African American community. Because having grown up with soul food, it's very important for me to continue consuming my cultural foods, not just replacing them with some wellness influencers have considered to be healthier alternatives. So although I can cook, recipe creation is not my gift. That's why I heavily rely on AIP-friendly food bloggers who share recipes that prioritize their cultural foods as well as their family traditions. And some of them include Castaway Kitchen, Food by Mars, and Heal Me Delicious. And I've linked to their food blogs below this video. Now, while AIP will provide you with the opportunity to try new foods, not all foods will be the ones you enjoy, and that's okay. Be open to trying new foods, but remember that if the foods you're consuming aren't satisfying, it's okay to say that's not for me and move on. The third principle is principle 9, movement, feel a difference. Now, what you will notice about AIP and intuitive eating is that it's not just about the food. The focus is on movement as part of our lifestyle isn't just being prescriptive. Instead, both recognize that movement can support our overall health, and while what that movement looks like will differ depending upon the person. For women with autoimmune disease and chronic illness like myself, movement can entail everything from a morning hike with our friends to an afternoon working in the garden. So the question isn't just how should I move, but how does this movement make my body feel? For instance, a client I previously coached wasn't engaging in regular movement because she had a health condition that contributed to chronic pain. And finding the right personal trainer who specialized in helping women with chronic pain helped her engage in movement in a way that was best and really supported her needs. So whether you experience chronic pain or not, focusing on how movement feels can make the difference between you enjoying movement or you seeing it as another thing you just have to do. And then the last principle, 10, honor your health, gentle nutrition. Now, what the new autoimmune protocol and the 4th edition of Intuitive Eating illustrate is that making food choices that honor your health isn't about appeasing diet culture. It's about recognizing that what you eat consistently over time is what counts towards your overall health. For those in the autoimmune community, this point is incredibly important because this is another place where AIP and gentle nutrition can complement each other. Rather than focusing on a single meal or food choice, you consider your overall eating pattern. Because AIP temporarily removes food during the elimination phase, consuming a variety of foods to meet your nutritional needs becomes especially important. That's why AIP isn't just about the food you temporarily avoid, but also the food you regularly include in your meals. And you'll notice that the words I've utilized during this whole conversation aren't organic, grass-fed, pasture-raised, or wild-caught. And that's for a reason. Because access varies depending on the person. I've worked with clients for whom food costs and access were major considerations. And honoring your health on a budget can include relying on convenient and affordable options like frozen and canned foods. For instance, frozen berries are an affordable source of vitamin C and other nutrients, while canned tuna offers a convenient source of protein and omega-3 fatty acids. The point is that gentle nutrition shouldn't be something that creates a financial strain for you. Instead, honoring your health looks like choosing what makes the most sense for you and your family. So, can AIP and intuitive eating work together? There are places where they can. By honoring your hunger, finding satisfaction in your food choices, choosing movement that supports your body, and practicing gentle nutrition, you may be able to keep AIP from becoming another set of rigid food rules. But as we discussed in part 2, that doesn't erase the areas where AIP and intuitive eating genuinely do conflict, which leaves us with one final question. Is AIP actually right for you? Now in part 4, I'm pulling back the curtain on my coaching process and sharing 3 questions I encourage you to consider before deciding whether AIP is right for you. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure that you do so you don't miss out on part 4 of our series. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next video.